Hello, everyone. So, I feel very excited to share more videos with you beyond the channeling I'm offering. And yeah, we are starting now. I tried to do this live stream before and I got interrupted last week or a couple days ago. So, let's see if it will flow this time. So the question is, have there been quantum leaps in your journey, or teachings or practices that have brought you through challenging times? So yeah, I want to begin with, where did my journey really begin? And I had my first kind of spiritual awakening when I was 18. It kind of coincided with a heart attack that my mother had. And while I was away from the house, I had this real feeling of intuition to return. And that kind of trauma around that triggered this massive pain in me that then trickled into a lot of issues in the family that spiraled out after that moment. And I was guided to practice yoga from my stepmother. I went to some yoga classes and had some very interesting first impressions of it. And I didn't fully connect with devoting myself to it fully beyond those first classes. Later in my first year in university in Philadelphia, I started taking a lot of plant medicines that really opened the doors of perception. It cleared me from this deep depression. And as I researched more, I found this combination of meditation and the use of these medicines that instantly deepened the experience for me, and my sense of what was possible expanded completely. I had these heart chakra awakenings, I had God consciousness awakenings that would coincide with all these synchronicities of people handing me these holy books in the streets and telling me these different things after I had the awakening moments. When I started practicing the yoga with it, it took things to whole new levels. And I then started traveling a bit and declared a religion as a minor, and seeing how the academia approached spirituality, while I was successful at doing the work in school and getting good grades, it really disillusioned me. So I dropped out and went to a yoga training. During the yoga training, I really did a lot to make myself pure and open, and it was one of the most blissful and empowering journeys I went on. I not long after immediately began teaching at a studio that offered yoga and Reiki. So Reiki was one of the first things more out of the box that really helped and inspired me. It was offered to me as a gift as part of my teaching work. And when I had the first Reiki attunement, I was just blown away into this incredible gratitude. Like I'd never experienced the emotion of gratitude in that way before. Just grateful for my life and grateful for what had been shared with me. And I had very intense experiences with Reiki right away that showed me that that was what I was kind of there to do. People who were working with Reiki for a while said that I took to it very naturally, and it led to other healing modalities and working with other healers. And around that time, it was 2012, and I'd only heard of 2012 as being the end of the world. And the information about the Mayan calendar and what people had channeled from Pleiades were coming through at that time to me in different ways, and as well as even deeper work with multidimensional explorations that sent me into this place where I was like very cosmically open. I was almost like an aesthetic monk at the time, trying to separate myself from society and be always in meditation and 4 hours of yoga and pure vegan, almost raw. All of these things seemed very important to me, until I was really kicked out of my father's house and living in Philadelphia, I continued to I was kicked out because I was meditating too much, by the way. I wanted nothing to do with society, and it was disturbing to my father that I couldn't think of getting a job or doing anything other than my healing work. So I was kicked out and was living with friends and doing the Reiki training, integrated energy therapy, and the healing seemed to be my main focus and my path. So I made the commitment through that to go to Mexico, as all of the information coming in around 2012 was like, oh, you must go to Mexico, and this is the site of where these predictions about 2012 were recorded. So I wanted to be there for that. And I just spent all my money on the ticket and trusted that the money for the trip itself would come through, and in miraculous and unexpected ways it did. I went to these shamanic gatherings in Mexico, the Rainbow Gathering, and other smaller scale gatherings that were working with Mexican shaman and shaman from South America that came to open the gates. It was multidimensional, extraterrestrial, fifth dimension, total bliss, and deep challenge. I was very sick throughout it. I was teaching Reiki classes at the gathering and taking my first step into leadership. It was the Reiki that really showed me my first path as perhaps being a leader, and sharing it helped me to reach a lot of people and make connections that would ripple out throughout the rest of my travels in life. I got to Guatemala. I wanted to go all the way south to Peru. I was traveling with friends, and they insist that I go to this place in Guatemala with them called San Marcos La Laguna, Lake Atitlan, and I was very resistant because I felt like I was on a mission, and that's kind of a theme that I face in a lot of times. It's like I feel like I have a mission, and the mission that I'm actually on is something a little bit different. There I met powerful shaman, one working with cacao I still connect with to this day, another who brought me through a lot of psychic openings through just his shamanic practices and being raised by an Ojibwe shaman and doing a lot of the work on his own, working with Tantra, working with a lot of new healing modalities and healing technologies, bioelectric medicine being one of many tools he worked with to heal Guatemalan people and anyone who would come to his clinic. He brought me a lot of tools to work on myself, and it was through him that I started to connect with these other healers. So the initial question that I'm answering today of what things really changed and impacted me, all of these things really changed and impacted me and left profound impressions. There were two tools that I learned that first year in 2013. One is emotional kinesiology, where you use your body to indicate what is a yes response and what is a no response, through simple things like muscle testing or through the movement back and forth of your heart standing up, and you focus questions in your mind with intention. And this is something I've used from that very moment to help me get clear in my decisions and help me know what my heart knowing really is. Also, the theta healing, which is a very simple technique to connect with Creator of all that is, to realize that we are all sovereign beings capable of reaching up to that higher God consciousness and commanding for things to happen. So theta healing works with clearing belief systems, and as I was doing that practice, I learned really how to do instantaneous healing on myself, and when things would come up, I could use that technique to instantly clear things. Through that time, I was really focused on yoga as well. So it was for those years, those modalities helped me, as well as the yoga and the Reiki. I was teaching Reiki, and through that, learning about more of my own intuitive skills, especially with crystals and sound, which are tools that I still use in my one-to-one sessions to this day. So fast forward a couple of years after practicing that, traveling the world, being guided by love and synchronicity to go to different places. I traveled a bit through Europe, and I was guided to go to India. And the yoga path seemed to be a very strong thing for me, as I was always devoted to this. And having taken a yoga teacher training in India, that was a bit of a moment of disillusionment for me, because I had this big idea of the vast spirituality of yoga. What I actually encountered after working with channelers and psychics in Guatemala was that much of the yoga that I was exposed to doing a Kundalini yoga training in Amritsar, India, was dogma, was this kind of regimented, you live this way, you do it this way, you believe this thing, you meditate this amount of time, you restrict yourself in this way, and it all comes through this guru energy. That part, at the time, a lot of that resonated with me, but the belief in the restriction did not. Though I was at that time practicing a lot of discipline and did my best to keep up with that. Though when India really devastated me, and it was kind of that challenge and that struggle of the devastation of India that brought me to new levels. The magic that happened in India was that I opened to this energy of gratitude. I went to Auroville in the south of India, where Sri Aurobindo set up this massive temple that is almost like a spaceship, and there's 12 different lotus rooms where you sit in meditation. They have colors and they're focused with specific intentions. So as I went after my first sit in the temple to the gratitude room, because I felt like that was the energy that I was struggling with, even though, again, when I was attuned to Reiki, that was the first initial download of, oh, gratitude. And when I learned how to have a state of gratitude for even the darker experiences that I was facing, the pain, I had chronic liver parasites, I was totally broke, I had all my stuff stolen in India the first day. Yet I was learning these spiritual lessons, and I was taught this path of ascension, that everything that happens for a reason, and the reason is something you store in your energy field. So I came to experience gratitude for all of the struggle, and that emotion led me to kind of shift so much so quickly. Leaving India, I was back in Europe for a little bit, and I was then not allowed into England at that moment, which was another timeline shift. Where am I going? So for the first time in some years, I went back to my hometown in Pennsylvania, reconnected with my family, and started sharing what I was learning over the years. And that was the time when things really shifted, as I had been exposed to that path of dogma and restriction and discipline through the old yogic path to a path of excitement and joy and spontaneity and intuitively downloaded wisdom. So I was listening to a lot of channel materials, mostly from Bashar and Abraham, and this was rapidly changing my consciousness and helping me to apply the teachings that I had learned from Spirit and learned from my teachers and share them with the people that were coming to my cacao ceremonies. At that time, I learned how to teach one of the energy healing modalities I work with, integrated energy therapy. And this, as well as it tunes you into this higher angelic frequency, helped me begin my channeling work. In that time in 2015, I opened my channel to the angels to come through teaching the class. And one time in one of my own ceremonies where I was just realigning my own energies, I heard this voice from the angels that told me to speak what they were saying aloud. And I did, and that was the first time I channeled, and I was blown away by it at first and almost thought I was making it up. And I later shared it with some friends when we were journeying together on Mount Shasta. I was inspired to go there for some spirit initiations. And then as I shared my channel for the first time and saw how people responded to it and how they were affected by it, I started to believe that something was actually happening. So since around that time, beyond the information that's come to me from outside, I've been able to connect internally to these voices and to this inner knowing that helps me understand things that are occurring at higher levels. And this is in addition to the gates kind of opened through working with my shaman teachers in Guatemala. So what else got added on to that? The teachings of spiritual teachers in the past years of Matt Kahn, Bentinho Massaro, and Teal Swan have added these different kind of layers that help some of the channeled information that can be this kind of higher vibration, higher octave of of consciousness that humans sometimes have a hard time to integrate into a more human perspective. And at the same time, the styles of these teachers are vastly different. Each one of them has helped me with specific things. The moment I got to sit with Bentinho Massaro live was really kind of shook me in a deep way and brought me to change a lot of what I thought was possible for me, and as well how I related to abundance and how I navigated my way through the world. I started opening connections to different kinds of people and moving forward in a beautiful way. Though I feel after a while of applying those teachings of Bentinho's, like, you just feel good, you just focus on the positive, you just return to the absolute. Everything that you don't want to be experiencing is created by the mind. I felt a little bit limited by that. So Teal Swan's teachings of how to actually work with trauma and go to the core wounds really deepened what I had learned from the shaman already, of how to return to these previous memories from childhood and relive them. So this helps to understand the patterning behind these control dramas that arise. And when we can understand control drama and what triggers our control drama, whether it's abandonment, rejection, a need for power, a need to be seen, feeling that you're not seen, feeling that you're not understood. These are real phenomena that happen that we attract into our reality. And when we can really dive deep into where those things come from, it changes everything. And we can relive those memories and we can see what we're avoiding. So when we don't see the shadow, the parts of us that are darker and hidden, the things that we really don't want others to see in us, we hide from those things. We try to make sure that others don't see them. Yet when we can descend into them and bring love to them and hold them within ourselves and let it be okay to feel negative, let it be okay to feel afraid, and hold ourselves in that love. That was a very big step for me, to be able to hold that for myself and then hold that for others. Another big initiation was working with sound. A sound healing training opened up a lot of gates. So when I'm doing channeling, what's really happening is my consciousness, my vibration, my brainwaves literally are tuning into this higher dimension that vibrates much quicker than what humans are normally able to tune into. And so sound is actually one of the most powerful ways that we can begin to change our vibration to pick up those higher octaves. And when I did the sound healing training, because we're working with sound in a group space, everyone feels that same vibration, and the sound healer who's anchoring the vibration, the frequency that they're tuning to, matches the frequency of the whole group. And doing sound healing training, the yoga of Sound and Chocolate was the name of the sound healing training. Great friends of mine organize it, and in that process, because everyone was attuned to the same frequency, it was much easier to go deeper into the channeling experiences that I provided, was able to tune into. And then combining the sound healing and the channeling made things a lot deeper for both the sound healing and the channeling. And sometimes in these experiences, people have this deep contact with their guides. They see different beings coming and removing things from their body, or they get taken out of their physical body onto a craft of some of these extraterrestrial or into some other kind of vision. And that has been something that's been a big focus of my work in the past years as well. I've also worked with a modality called Seikam, which uses different symbols and visualizing these three-dimensional healing tools that go into somebody's aura and clear out and remove negative energies. And this was channeled from ancient Egyptian times. At times in my journey, I've had a very strong past life affinity with those times. It's something that comes in and out of my field as I go. So, okay. Let's see, what else is it that really helps me what was the initial question? Helps me in times of darkness. I guess fundamentally learning how to deal with negative belief systems. That whenever we're feeling a lower emotion, it's because we are running a script, running a belief, running a thought about ourselves that we've practiced so often, it's hard to consider that that thought isn't real. So they're very hard to spot because we run them so regularly that they seem almost like they're part of us. It seems almost unescapable. And the work that Bashar, Bentinho, my teachers have explained of identifying these negative belief systems has been really helpful. And really it involves, you have to turn that emotion into a sensation and come to separate all of that feeling from the mind chatter. As the mind chatter settles down, you can really tune into what you must be believing about yourself in order to feel this way, in order to feel this disconnected. And that's something I come back to again and again, is really the fundamental thing that we're working on, is removing those belief systems and tuning into the space where everything is possible. And yeah, that ties back into something I learned earlier, which is the theta healing, which is a very specific way of how to take those belief systems out. So yeah, there's many different tools that help me. The yoga is something that I always come back to. I have to keep my own body in an energized place in order to really be in my full power. I have to keep my health in a good place. I have to also be fully living the life that brings me the most excitement. And there's tons of things that maybe aren't so super spiritual that sometimes excite me, like going to shows or going to queer gatherings or you name it. I like to kind of shine my little fairy light in places that are a little bit more dense, or wave my tuning forks through the streets sometimes, just brighten things up in the world, because it's so important that we bring these things to people who may not even be open to it. A deep connection with nature is always very important for me. To every day, even when I'm in the city, just go out into a park, have some moment where the sunlight touches my skin, have some moment to breathe with the trees. It changes everything. On the lines of health, drinking distilled water and doing therapies with the water has been very helpful. Sometimes detoxing is totally necessary. Combo the frog spirit is one thing that has helped me a lot, and is something that I'm very called to work with to keep the body very clean. And when you start doing these detoxing things, it's not just that you're clearing your body out, it's that, well, when you clear your body out, you stop craving the things that bring your vibration to lower. You stop craving the lower foods, you even stop craving the lower activities. So detox, so important. I feel like I've talked a lot about those things that help us and me stay really clear. Does anyone who's watching have any specific questions about the things I've shared? Let me look through the comments a second. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm in Europe. Oh, I'm blessed to be connected with all of you. Yes. So, yeah, if you're watching this video now or at another time, this is something that I am very excited to do more often to help more people get engaged in the work I offer. I am doing one-to-one sessions of channeling and energy healing, having studied these different modalities to help cleanse out the energetic field. And at an intuitive level, I begin to pick up a lot about what's going on both inside your physical body and also in your energy body, the emotions and the beliefs and the karmic patterns behind it. So in those sessions, I can kind of dig those things to the surface and help you begin to work with them more. I'm also offering a program over 4 sessions, 8 sessions, or 12 sessions that will help people really do the work on a regular basis, and beyond the one-to-one work with the channeling that answers your questions and helps you to clear your energy. I will find specific practices that work for your situations. If you're going through a time of great change and release, this is something that can really help you. A lot of people are in that space at the moment. There's a lot of shifting. We've just been through an eclipse season, and the energies are going up all the time. So it is important to really do the work on ourselves and go within so that our lives outside can change. Let's look at the comments for a second. Talk more about the frog spirit. The name is Teal Swan. Love from Chile. Oh, great. Okay. The frog spirit. Yes. So Kambo is a frog from the Amazon that was discovered, I don't know, maybe thousands of years ago. And the story behind it is the tribe was very sick, and the plants that used to help people heal were no longer working. So the shaman drank the ayahuasca and asked the ayahuasca to help find the cure. And they were guided to meet this frog, to call the great tree frog out of the tree, and they were guided in how to take this venom from the frog, put it on a stick, and then burn tiny marks on the skin and put that medicine on. And what the medicine does is it sends these peptide signals into the brain that trigger all of the organs to release toxins, mostly the liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, and intestines. So normally you'll drink tons of water, about 2 liters of water before you take it, and you'll fast for 12 hours. The tribes in the Amazon do it very differently, depending on the tribe. And then all of that bile and those built up toxins, as well as heavy metals and things that we pick up from the environment, things that our body just can't process, maybe due to feeling fatigued or not having enough energy or not having enough rest, then get pumped into the stomach and we vomit it all out. And the frog puts this intense pressure in the body. You'll feel your heart rate increase quite a lot. You'll feel this pressure building. You might feel a little bit like your throat closes up, your face swells up, and you get these frog lips. It's quite crazy. And the first times I did this, I felt like I was dying. And the tribes believe that the frog lifts Panema, which is a general name for bad luck. And I was told when I was introduced to this that as it changes your heart rhythm, it brings your heart into the most balanced frequency. And when your heart comes into that frequency, your field of attraction changes as well. And the first times I did combo, I really experienced this. After I did one session and I was just blown away by how powerful it was. I really thought I was going to die during it. So I was like, okay, I'm never going to do this again. But then they offered to do another exchange with me. So I was like, okay. And then somebody else offered to pay for my last session in exchange for some healing. So I was like, okay, I'll do the vaccine of the jungle, as they call it, the 3 sessions within a moon cycle. And after that had finished, bam, like everything just changed in my life. I was invited to live in a community with my shaman teacher. I was invited to take this energy healing class, the Seikam. I, not long after, met my first partner. And all of these things happened in such a quick succession, and my life just totally changed. And it changes you through really giving you the strength and resilience. Oftentimes we doubt how strong we are. We get bogged down by emotions and we don't keep our chin up. So the frog, because it forces you to really stay strong through this deep sickness, it gives you that resilience. It clears out all the toxins that may be holding you back. And over the years, I've done the frog about 27 times. I've learned a lot of karmic balance from the frog, that you have to be living in accordance with your own integrity in order for this to be beneficial for you. There have been times where I have veered from my path a little bit, and working with the frog actually brought me this like karmic slap in the face back right away, because it was like you're trying to clear your body out, but you're then going and eating greasy falafel in the streets of Berlin like more often than you should, and staying up too late and not focusing on your path. And the frog was like, hey, you can't do that, boy. Though other times when I've been going through things, the frog has really just lifted this. And this is something that I feel really, really called to work with, because when you take the frog, the desire to have these heavier foods, to engage in heavier activities, just get lifted, and you feel much lighter and much more connected to what is really your heart's excitement. And I feel a lot of people in the world are just bogged down, especially in the queer community. People are in this world of numbing and alcohol and parties, and I want to bring them the frog. And I'm kind of hyper-focused on doing a lot of work and generating some abundance to go to the Amazon in the winter and learn how to serve this medicine in a official training with it. Yeah, it's something I love very, very, very much. Let's get some of the other questions. Ooh. Okay. So, how's it going? It's funny, it shows me that there's 12 of you, but I can't even see your names or who you are. Unless you write something. So yeah, check out my website, blissbeings.com. You can find information on the personal one-to-one sessions there, and as well the immersion, the package I offer of sessions over a period of time. I'd be very excited to work with you, and I'm very prepared to go deep, and yeah, all of the best. If you're watching this now or after it's been recorded, I would love to do this again. So if you have a question that you feel like would be a good theme for more further exploration, whether it's about me or whether it's about healing in general, personal transformation, spiritual realms, extraterrestrial consciousness, medicines, yoga, any of these things, I'd be very happy to talk about. So inbox me, send me a message, and I will pick the most juicy question to be the theme of the next live share that I put out there. It has been a wondrous blessing to speak with all of you, and thank you, Ben, for asking me this question. Yeah, it was a lovely way to explore getting to share on the live camera. It's one of the first times I've done this, and somehow in this moment I'm surprisingly confident and excited to be doing it. So I think I will end there, unless there's any last minute questions you are going to... How do you approach fear? I can talk about that for a second before we end. How do you approach fear? There's many different kinds of fear. It's most important to see with fear, are you both excited and afraid of the thing that you're afraid of, or are you just afraid of it? Because fear is a protection mechanism, and sometimes this fear is an intuition to not move in that direction. Yet if we're feeling this like great throbbing in your heart to actually go in that direction anyway, but you're still afraid of it, it's important to look out why that fear is there. What do you believe could happen? What do you believe people would think of you? What do you believe you might experience? What other things could be possible if you go in that direction? So yeah, fear is a very powerful energy and a very wide topic to think about. And when you can distinguish between, okay, is this a good fear? Is this the fear that's indicating that that thing that I'm focusing on now is really my heart's calling, then it's time to unravel that fear and, slowly, that phone keeps falling every time it vibrates, bring that emotion to settle in a little bit deeper, transmute it. And there are ways to do that. I'll maybe make a full next video about that theme of fear. And yeah, allow the fear, separate it from your beliefs about it, and transmute that stressful energy out of your vibration. When our body is producing stress hormones like cortisol, it actually it breaks our aura, it shatters our aura, and it's okay sometimes. And there are many tools to kind of, especially if you're living in the city or having a kind of stressful lifestyle, there's many tools that we can use, and yoga is one of the best tools, sound healing is one of the best tools, breath is one of the best tools to naturally decrease that level of cortisol in your body so that you can be clear and move forward in your passion without feeling that. And then for the more kind of mental levels of fear, especially fears around relationships and certain interactions and moving in the direction of your dreams, those fears are things that are always very specific and important to look at. Again, looking at the beliefs behind the fear. Are you believing that you're separate from others? Are you believing you're separate from divine? Are you believing you're not deserving? Taking yourself from all of the tiny beliefs into that core belief. What is the core belief about yourself that's causing you to feel fear and causing you to feel separation? That will help a lot as well. Though, yeah, this is a very good topic, and I can think about it more and maybe come up with some better ideas for another video. Though if you scroll back on my YouTube channel quite a while back, 2016 or 17 sometime, I made a video being friends with your fear, how to become friends with your fear, because ultimately we can't transmute these lower emotions until we feel love within them, until we are able to say, oh, thank you, fear, thank you for teaching me. Whenever one of these emotions comes up, it's an invitation to love yourself more. And it's also, every negative emotion is the polarity of a positive emotion. If we're feeling anger, the opposite polarity is empowerment. If we're feeling sadness, the opposite polarity is joy. So naturally, those emotions are there to bring us to their opposite and unify them. So fear is really there to help you unify with that passion, that excitement. And when you can become friends with that fear and allow it and hug it really closely, it's helpful. It's the most important thing. And yeah, a guide in that, companionship in that, somebody who has gone through the journey is very powerful. So it's one of the best ways to move through it. I wouldn't have been able to move through most of my fears if it wasn't for my guides and teachers in human form. So I'm very grateful for that and happy to be that servant for others. Yeah, check out my work, and I will check in with you all in the next video. Please share my page, like my page, and my YouTube channel, Be Bliss. Pass this video around if it's helped you, and have, if you're in Europe, the best night ever. If you're in the States, the best day ever. It's always the best ever. I promise you that.